Welcome to the official Aether Revolt set review. I'm Incredibad Gaming,
And I'm Z Magic 94.
and today is the first episode of our official, complete Aether Revolt set review, starting with all of the white cards. So with that in mind, let's jump right in.
Angel.
Ooh.
Oh, this card is like it is very powerful, but then again, it is very expensive,
It's very expensive. It's very slow.
and a
Five
lot of the
five.
set, a lot of the set is very fast. So
Yeah, it seems like that. I think it's gonna be like purely from limited. I think it's gonna be depending on how fast the set is. And I think most people are thinking it's gonna be very quick. So this card's probably gonna be better at like your pre-release, but I don't think it's gonna be as good as say when you draft.
hmm I would agree,
7 mana just seems too expensive. This
especially
is
because a lot of people don't know what's going on in like a pre-release.
SRAM Senior Edificer. Let's talk about this. Interesting card. Uh, I don't know how to feel about it. It feels like, yeah, if I get enough ores and equipments and vehicles, then it's going to be really good.
Right.
But sometimes it's just a 2/2 for 2.
I
Like,
it, it's, I mean, it's a 2 for 2 for 2, which is good.
it's never not going to be good. It's
It's
just
just
if you look,
it's gonna be insane sometimes.
sometimes it's going to be a Saint, sometimes it's going to just be a 2/2 for 2, which doesn't feel great compared to a lot of other rares and mythics in the sets, because if you
Just
look
on
at
my side.
just, it seems like the power level of all the other cards are really good. I think you'll see playing Commander, but that's about it outside of Limited. In Limited, you might play this, but you're going to need to play at least like six, probably six vehicles and equipments, probably, and ores
I
for
don't
this to
think
be
you do
worth it.
though. I think it's just fine with it, as many as you have.
If you need a 2/2 for 2 and you're not reliably going to play this to draw cards, I think it's going to be all right. And like I said, in pre-release, you're probably going to play it because it's a 2/2 for 2, and you probably have a little bit better chance of building a deck. But if you're drafting, it might be a little bit more difficult. But it depends on how many good vehicles are in the set, and it looks like there's a lot. So maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, but for limited, like you never not play a 2 for 2.
Yeah, no, I agree.
I
I
just
just
don't.
don't. It's not gonna. Sometimes it's not gonna be exciting, is what I mean. Sometimes it's
Oh
gonna be
yeah, but
exciting,
you
and
go this
sometimes
into
it's gonna be a two
freighter.
for two
This
game.
into freighter is insane.
Oh, 100%. But
Yeah.
you're only playing one pack, so the chances of you having a
Oh,
freighter
I
is a
know.
lot less. But I agree. I agree that it could be really good, but it can also be very medium. The base level is medium, but it only goes up. So
Right.
it's
Right.
fine card. I'm not gonna be super excited if I open it, say at my pre-release, but I'm gonna be like, okay, yeah, it's good.
Right.
You know.
Right. Let's go to the next card then. Tease. This card we talked about the other day, and this
Uh,
card we were very high on.
yeah,
This
I think we're
card
both
is
very high.
awesome. In limited, you play this and you play, I don't know, one of the servo lords, or you play anything. Anything makes
Master
it really good.
Trinketeers, Sheep of the Foundry,
That's like
Renegade
the high case.
Trader. Yeah, you know, there's and because Revolt is a mechanic, having three servers that can turn on Revolt is very good here. So if you play
Yes.
something for example, this into the green white 3-drop that brings back a permanent from 2 or less. So you can play this into that into another 2-drop permanent. So you just get crazy value from this card
The
a lot.
high side is really high, and the low side is like all right. Like it is very all right. Like sometimes, but sometimes it's going to be insane. Like it's just going to, yeah, to like cheat. And we learned like back in what was it? Where Clarion Academy was printed. Like mana cheating is insane, and mana cheating can swing games where nothing else can. And so because it's a mana cheat ability, it can swing games entirely, but it also can just do nothing sometimes.
I think this is probably a 3.5 to a 4. I'd probably put it at a 3.5 just because the all right's all right, but it's definitely if you open it, you're gonna be really happy.
Aether Inspector. This card is
These
really cool. This is from the cycle.
Yes, these are from the they're all inspectors, or they're all aiders. They're all aiders somethings, right?
They're all artificers, I thought.
Yeah, they're
They're all
all but
something
they're all
artificers.
yeah. They're basically, the cycle is they usually have a keyword. So for white, the keyword here is vigilance. They enter the battlefield with 2 energy, and then when they attack, they you pay 2 energy and you make a 1/1 server or artifact, which is very relevant with mechanics like Revolt. Um, so the white one here, this is Of the ones I've seen, I would say it's the least exciting.
Uh,
Yeah, I think this one is the least exciting of the five. Like 4 mana, 2/3 vigilance isn't that good of a mechanic to make up for the fact that it's 4 mana. I think if this was 3 mana, I'd be a lot more
this
excited.
one's so bad. This is the like.
Yeah,
It's like not even close to the worst. It is farly. It's like far. It's clearly the worst. Like 2/3 vigilance for 4 is terrible.
they were. Go on, sorry.
It's no. It's just terrible vanilla test. Like.
This could have been fixed if it was either a 3-drop or if it was a 3/4. Then it would have been actually good, in my opinion. If it was a 3/4 for vigilance for 4, you could probably play that. If it was a 3-drop 2/3 with vigilance that makes a 1/1, you could probably play that. But as it is, it's generally not good. And I'd probably give it out of 5. I'd give it like a 1. You probably don't want to be playing it.
This is really cool. I think this card's solid.
Think so too.
The floor with this card is good, and the ceiling is incredible.
Especially if you're playing, because it's double white, this is probably going to play this card in a very heavy white-based deck,
Right.
especially in limited, right?
It is kind of slow though.
Most white-based decks are going to be probably have a lot of servos and probably go with the classic white weenie more than anything. It feels like so. This just getting bigger when you trade off your 1/1s feels very good.
Yeah, definitely. I like this card. I would be happy to pick one that.
I think that's probably if I had to rate it, I'd 3. It's good.
Yeah, white does have a lot of double white. Next card, Consulate Crackdown, 3 and 2 white. When it enters the battlefield, exile all artifacts your opponent controls until it leaves the battlefield. This card seems bad.
It's gonna either
like
be very
really bad.
It's gonna be very good or it's gonna be very bad. There is no in between here. Either it's 5
not even
mana,
worth
exile
playing,
those
though.
servos. I think it's a sideboard card. If they're playing a very heavy artifact deck and you're white, you can probably sideboard this in limited. If they're playing a lot of big artifacts or their deck revolves around a lot of like artifacts or like improvise, where
Yeah.
they're just generating a ton of advantage with improvise, then you can play it. But I think I wouldn't main deck this. I would say
5 mana limited sideboard card.
basically.
I agree.
I
That
would
is where
say-
we're at.
So it's like a 1.5 to a 2 out of 5 sideboard.
Yeah.
This card I think has implications, I feel like, outside of limited, but even in limited, it's generally pretty good.
I don't think so out of limited. I don't think it's very powerful out of limited because it does require you to recast the artifact and enchantment you get back, and it costs you mana, a lot of mana. But I think it's very, very good for limited. It's a 2/1 for 2, which is great, and then it also has like another ability. If you have an insane artifact or an insane enchantment, and there's lots of good artifacts in this set, you can get it back. I'm happy to have this card in white. It also triggers Revolt, which is insane. Like, you could play this, and then the next turn, trigger Revolt, and then get something back that uses a Revolt. Like, this card is really good.
Yeah, I agree with that.
This is a very, very solid uncommon. Like, I would take this very highly. There are so many. I mean, like, let's imagine you have this and, Dino Train, and you just, like, your Dino Train just happened to die. It's like, oh, well, I'll just get my Dino Train back. Like, that's, like, the best thing, right? But there's also so many other good things you can get back. And, like, just, like, so you can get back a creature. Like, you can just get back, like a 3/2 creature with it.
There's some decent enchantment here too, if you remember, right? Yeah. There's the Journey to Nowhere card. I forget what it's called. There's if you're playing with Kaladesh, there's Revoke Privileges. If you're playing white blue and you're playing Kaladesh, there's Malfunction. This gets back a lot of enchantment removal too. So
yeah.
It's
and it
very
does
good.
crew for 2. Crewing for 2 is nice.
Yep. I think this does everything you want in white.
This card's great. This card's great. Like,
yeah.
This is so much better than Revoke.
100% better than Revoke.
So much better than Revoke. Wow, this card's great. I didn't see this card. I saw most of the set, but I did not see this card.
It loses to the same things that Revoke does, but it just does more than Revoke does.
It doesn't lose to the same things, though. It doesn't lose to bounce effects on your own creatures.
That's true, actually. That's the thing it doesn't lose to. But it does lose to later enchantment removal.
Yeah. Answer to Pain Train. This card is sweet. Best This is such a solid removal spell. Like, this is a nice pick one. Oh,
3.5 to a 4. Maybe 3.5, maybe a 4.
Oh,
is this going on your favorite list?
This is on my favorite list for a pick. I'm gonna put this on my list. This card is sweet.
This card is very good. This is going to blow out your opponent a ton of times.
Wow, this card is so sweet. The only man. The thing is, you have to trigger Revolt and you have to have it tapped. That's a lot of setup.
It's great when you have it. It's not great when you don't. So at its floor, it's a 3-mana 3/2, which is not great. It's okay, especially if you need 3 drops. But when it does hit, it hits.
This is so swingy.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, destroy is really this is just really swingy. A destroy for white is insane. Like that's very uncommon now. Yeah, this is destroy, not exile, which is great. The 2/2 body is the only drawback. If it was like a 2/3,
I thought it was a 3/2. I apologize.
No, it's a 2/2.
It's not as good as a 3/2 then, but it's still okay.
Right. No, but this card's really good. This card when it's turned on, it's insane. When it's not turned on, it's just a 2/2. But like when it's gonna be turned on a lot of the time. There are so many things. It's more of a 5-drop. Yeah, definitely. Like your opponent attacked to try to swing the damage race. You attacked, you traded something, and then you killed their other really good thing.
You killed their big thing, yeah.
Yeah. Like they attacked with their dragon, and then you just like traded off some like 2/2 for a 2/2, and then you played this, killed it.
I'd give it a 3 simply because there's gonna be times where if Revolt doesn't get triggered, it's pretty medium. But it just goes up from there. Like,
I think it's gonna be triggered so many times though.
Oh, that's just my opinion. If you think it's like a 3.5, I think it's a 3.
I mean,
which
think
is still
about
really
this
good.
like one of the white cards you've seen already. You sack the other white card to go get an artifact or
no,
enchantment.
I was thinking about that too.
And then there's like 4 mana. Boom.
You would need 4 mana, right?
Right.
So you're not playing this on turn 3, but you're definitely playing this on turn 5 or 6.
I don't think you ever want to play this on turn 3, really.
No.
Because number 1, you're not gonna get Revolt from it, and number 2, you're not gonna get hit a big enough thing that's worth it. It's not going to swing the... Deals 3 damage divided as you choose between 1, 2, or 3 attacking or blocking creatures. This is like
this can blow out a lot of things, right?
3 is because like not enough, though.
You can trade this card and a few of your smaller things for their 3 of their bigger things. Do you know what I mean?
This is really good. Yeah, because you just suicide some servos in and kill 2/2s.
Revolts... and when you're and especially if you're suiciding, let's say you have 8 or 9 mana and you have a Revolt thing, like the card up there, and Death Dismissal, and then you swing in and you trade your servos, you Death Dismissal, trade up, and then you play another thing that uses Revolt. So if you can use with Revolt, it's pretty good. Do you know what I mean? So
this reminds me of Rules Retribution, and that card was insane. This card is good. It's
a little cheaper in terms of having to play it because you don't have to be... Rules Retribution was double white. This not being double white means that you don't have to be as heavy white in order to play this. So, I think it's good. I would say it's not great. I give it like a 2.5, maybe a 3.
I think it's pretty solid. I think that the things that we've seen so far with this set is very, the power level in this set is huge. And I think this set is going to actually favor correct sequencing a lot of the time. But it's also going to challenge players to how they value resources and how they make decisions. Because, like, sequencing is everything in this set. When you have Revolt and you have, like, well, do I block his suiciding attack or do I not block his suiciding attack? Like, you just don't know what's going on. The set is very good. Yes.
Yep. I think it's good. I think it's a solid removal spell. 2.5 to a 3. Somewhere in that range.
This card's sweet.
The question is in limited, how good is it? And generally, there's enough enter the battlefield effects.
This card's so good in limited.
Good. Yeah.
It triggers Revolt.
It's gonna block a lot of things too.
It triggers Revolt. It's so good.
It does trigger Revolt because Revolt's not die. It's just leave the battlefield.
Leaves the battlefield. Right? Yeah. Flicker effects are so much better with Revolt. Like, oh, I flickered my guy, or it's just like, oh, okay. My Revolt's turned on. Like, that is so cool.
Yeah,
that is
there's a lot.
Cool.
This is a very good card. This is a very good card. 4 toughness ain't a joke. if you can find a way to bounce this multiple times too, if you can flicker this as well, because there are other cards that flicker this. If you can get multiple copies of this,
card's great.
Yeah.
I do agree that that newer players are going to have difficulty with the set because the threat analysis is hard. I think, yeah, the threat analysis is very hard to do. And I do agree that the high level of power is going to be higher. Is going to be like more difficult, and it's going to actually favor the higher skill player, higher skilled player. There you go.
I like it. I would give it a 3.5. There's just so much going on with this. There's so much that you can do. The only time it's bad is when you draw it and you need something big and you've got nothing on the battlefield, or if it's like a top deck and you've already spilt your hand. But other than that, it's generally pretty good. As long as enchanted, it's a creature, gets +2/+2 and flying. It costs 5 mana. So
do you get blown up by select?
You get blown out by everything. You get blown out by any creature removal. You get blown out by... The thing about vehicles and what makes them so good is that they dodge creature removal, and if you just make it permanently a creature, you're just making it more susceptible to getting blown up and 2-for-1ing yourself. So I think there's going to be some newer players who think it's really good because flying is a good mechanic and because giving it +2/+2 is good, but overall I think this card is probably stone unplayable.
Maybe this one's the exception, but there's a lot of them that are really bad. The enchantments.
I thought that the one that was 3 mana for the red one was much better. +3/+0 and first strike is I'd rather have, I think, and it's cheaper. I think just playing this for 5 mana, you spend your turn doing 5 mana, and if your opponent has an answer, you just basically lose your turn 5 and you lose 2 cards. So this, like I said, this falls into the same traps a lot of other thing does.
All right, so we have airdrop aeronauts here. This card's sweet. It's good in the right deck. Yeah. This card's really sweet. There's a 5 mana 4/3 flyer. Bam. Yep. Already sweet.
Gaining
sometimes
life.
gain you 5's life. Okay, cool. I am down.
Like most times people will say, "Oh, life gain. You shouldn't play cards that gain you life." You know what I mean? They're kind of useless. But this is the kind of thing
that only gain you life.
Yes, right? So new players will be like, this card's not good, it gains you life. And then they'll be like, we said you shouldn't only play cards that only gain you life. This card gaining you life when it comes into play for 5 and being a 4/3 flyer is huge.
When you flicker this, it gets the trigger. Oh, it's so good.
Oh, yeah, because it left.
Yeah, so because it left.
This thing is very good. This thing, when I saw it, I went, wow, this thing is going to stabilize you / help you win games a lot of the time.
Flying Stomper. That's exactly what it is. And Stomper was insane.
Yeah, I think this is like a 3.5. I think 3.5 is what I'd rate it. Really good. Our Rex Stomper was 3.5, probably.
I think that was higher, but it like won you games.
I think anything 4 and above is like a rare.
I think this only has a 3 power toughness, which is kind of rough. Being a 3/4 in the air would probably be better.
This card.
This card's sweet. It's very good with your vehicles. Well, if you have good vehicles, it's really good. Otherwise, it just dies to Copter.
It having flying is okay, but one toughness is very weak in this format. There's a lot of stuff that can beat it. We just saw an example of it. The 4 mana instant spell. I just forgot its name. The mini royal retribution.
The one where you deal damage between 3 target creatures.
Yep.
Yep, and that just like blows that part of like that's 4 for 4 already, and then they get more. There are a lot more Thopters in this set. In the world of Thopters, I don't like this card.
Neither do I. Yeah, it's true. They did have more Thopters. Yeah, I think this is like a 2.
Oh,
sometimes it's okay.
Not even like.
You think a 1.5?
Oh, this is such a bad uncommon compared to the other. Oh man.
Compared to the other
uncommon, like there are commons that are better than this.
Yeah.
So many commons that are better than this. This is so bad. It dies to Helix, the new white removal, 1/1 Thopters, dies to Shock. Yeah, it just dies to everything. It's 4 mana.
Yeah, okay.
This card's terrible.
I'll give this a 1.5. Probably a 1. Probably a 2.5. I don't know what else to say.
It's a 3 power flyer, so 2.5 for the last card. I guess so. It's just so bad though. I guess just because the last one was a 3 power. All right. This is just Windrake.
2.5. move on. There's not much to say about
Zero,
it.
zero, zero, zero. Bastion, this card's sweet.
Yeah, it's 3 mana, 3/2.
It has a dwarf.
It's a
Type.
dwarf.
Yeah.
2.5, I'd say. It's a deck filler, I think.
Another deck filler. It's an arrest.
Yes, it's a rest. So this is what I was talking about, getting back enchantment removal from the uncommon.
Oh, wow. This is insane. Yeah. I didn't actually see this one. This is a common? This is so good.
And here's the thing. When a field control attacks, exile enchanted creature. Caught in the Brights goes into your graveyard, and if you've got ways to bring it back, you can play it again. So this thing is better than arrest because there are times where you're going to be able to play this twice. I'm going to put this on my favorite cards list. I love just everything about it. I love the removal. I love the art, and I love the fact that it's Gremlin being run over by a car. It goes on my favorites just because of that.
I think this card is like, it's so good at common. Like this is Choking Restraints for free. No, basically, this is Choking Restraints for free.
Choking Restraints was great, so this is probably even better.
This is Choking. Wait, this does not prevent crew though. But when you just attack with one vehicle, you get rid of that creature. So, and you have ways to get it back.
Conviction. So enchanted creature gets +1/+3 for 1 white. Return Conviction to its owner's hand. I am actually not sure about this. It's interesting.
This does enable Revolt.
This enables Revolt. I actually do think this card's, because it can return itself for 1 white, which is cheap, and +1/+3 is not a thing to sneeze about. I think this card's good.
I think this card's actually good because it triggers Revolt, and it like, oh, my creature's about to die, let me return it.
Yep, I think that's exactly what I'm thinking too. Basically, you're always going to have this thing, right? Because you can always bounce it, and it triggers Revolt, which is very relevant.
And it also combos that with that rare from earlier.
But I still think this card is good. I think it's a 2.5. I don't think it's great, but I think that because it can trigger Revolt, and because +1/+3 is nothing to sneeze about, like 3 toughness is really pretty hard to get through.
It might be too slow if the format's fast.
That's why I think it's a 2.5 for now, and obviously all the ratings I'm giving are gonna adjust as people figure out the format. So Dawn Feather Eagle, flying when Dawn Feather Eagle enters the battlefield, creatures you control get +1/+1 and gain vigilance at the end of turn. Really good.
The art is phenomenal.
The
art's phenomenal. The card's great. It's a spell attached to a 3/3 flying body.
Yep. If you're playing white too, you're gonna probably be playing a lot of servos or a lot of fabricate dudes, even from Kaladesh. So you're gonna be playing a lot of smaller white guys. So getting +1/+1 in vigilance, nothing to sneeze about.
I like this. Well, what's your rating?
Yeah, rating for this?
This is a good common. It is expensive, but it's good.
3. I would say a 3.
Yeah, it's still
5 mana 3/3 flyer is good, even if it doesn't. Even if you have no creatures, a 5 mana 3/3 flyer is still pretty good. So at the worst, it's a 5 mana 3/3 flyer, but it only goes up from there, in my opinion.
It is Inspiring Captain, plus 1 mana plus flying. Yep.
Fly Invasion, choose 1. Target creature you control gets +1/+2 until end of turn, or you can return target creature you control to its owner hand. So returning something to your owner hand is pretty good with all the enter the battlefield effects and Revolt in this set. And if at the worst case, if you don't have anything to do that, +1/+2 can also win you in combat. So this is it's got a lot of stuff to it. You know what I mean?
It's kind of like mad though. It's like your 23rd card. I would say a 2. That sounds right.
I think a 2.5, but more on the low end. So 2.
I don't think the pump is high enough, and only being a saving grasp is not very good.
No, 2.5. Sometimes returning target creature control is going to be better because you might have a lot of Revolt.
Right.
Or you might have a lot of enter the battlefield effects. So at the highest, it's going to be a 2.5, but it's usually a 2. Just because I think it having the ability to return target creature, it can also feign the opponent's removal for your big stuff. That's another important thing to know. So I think it's a 2.5. It's interesting because servers are obviously going to be and Thopters are going to be very prevalent in the set. So I think this goes into really aggressive decks sometimes, but other than that, I don't think I would play it.
I don't know. This doesn't trade for a servo.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? But
it trades for everything, but not a servo. It is a 2-drop dwarf.
This is going to trade up sometimes too, because having 3 power.
Yeah, it's a solid card. It's better than the other commons we've seen.
Yeah, I'd probably play this in common. If I'm playing white, I'd probably play this. I think this is probably a 2.5 to a 3.
Yeah, I would. Yep. This card's good filler.
Countless Gears Renegade. Revolt, whenever permanently controlled left the battlefield, create a 1/1 server artifact creature token. So this thing I think is good. This thing is definitely standard common deck filler that you want. Simply because 2 mana for 3 power and 3 toughness is generally pretty good. That beats the vanilla test most of the time, and even then it meets its vanilla test. Plus it's a dwarf, plus it's an artificer, and artificers are always very relevant. So I think this card is probably a 3, I would say, in terms of deck filler.
At least. Like, this has 2 relevant text boxes. It's a 2-drop. It's a 2/2, just to start. And then it also, later in the game, becomes a 2-body. Like, this is really good.
Yeah, I think this is good. I really like this. I'm going to give it a 3. I think it's probably never better or worse than a 3, in my opinion.
It's a good...
Decommission.
I mean, it destroys target artifact enchantment. And you might gain 3 life. So
it's appetite for the unnatural in white. That's basically the best way to put it. It's a very similar card.
I mean, white can finally destroy artifacts over 4. So
yep. I'd say it's probably a 2 to 2.5, probably less. Sometimes a sideboard card. So the rating on this is very variable depending on how many artifacts they're playing or how good their artifacts are, I think.
You can play this main deck. It's upgrade to Fragmentize. Yeah.
Yeah.
You can play this main deck like you can play Appetite main deck.
Yep, that's why I think it's a 2. It's like I said,
this card
2.5.
is very good in sealed versus draft. By the way, having decommissions and our appetites in sealed is very good. Hitting their like artifact bombs.
Agreed.
And then that wraps up the white.
What do you think about white? I thought it looked good. I think the commons are good. I think the uncommons are really good. The uncommons look like a lot of deck filler.
That also was how it was in Kaladesh, though, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
there were some good white commons though in Kaladesh, but yeah, there's a lot of deck filler on this one. But overall, I thought white's pretty good.
Aggressive, controlling. What do you think? What kind of flavor does white have?
I think it feels like it's more aggressive. There's a lot of fabricate sort of things with Revolt. There's a lot of put even like big enchantments put on things. So I think it's more of an aggressive deck than even like a 3/1 can't be blocked by artifacts. I think they're looking more to push it towards an aggressive decks than more controlling decks, I would say.
Okay, that sounds good.
What about you? Do you think it's the same thing, or do you think it's more controlling?
I think it's like mid-rangey. I think you're slower than the aggressive decks, but you're not like the dirtily deck. But very few. Yeah, that's very true. There are very few unplayables in white.
Which is why I think white's a very solid color to go into. Thank you guys for tuning in to the white episode of the Aether Revolt set review. I'm Incredibad Gaming.
And I'm ZMagic94.
If you like what you saw, you can hit that subscribe button on YouTube. You can also find me on Twitter at Incredibad_game or on Twitch at Incredibad_gaming.
And you can find me on Twitter and Twitch at ZMagic94. And if you like this content, you can find this content and other great content at teamnfgbot.com.
So stay tuned for the next episode, which will be blue. See you guys next time.